Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.
In this past week, we have been, I've heard several different discussions on, boy, we even talked about this a lot on Monday's Let Us Reason Together show. John Craig came in and started discussing attacking China, and China is actually very aware that they could be attacked at any point because of different things that have happened across the globe in the past this year. And also, you know, who would attack them? Would it be America? Would it be other countries, a conglomerate of all those? And then we were discussing, which made me start thinking about our last week's show, is the value of America. And one of the first thing that pops into my mind was that several years ago, we found out that China was buying up the United States, what is it? Well, a lot of things in the United States, but the national parks. The China actually owns our national parks and a lot of interstates and things like that, anything that makes money, you know, your toll road interstates and things like that. And it's amazing. And now, just lately, as a matter of fact, John Craig was bringing up, I guess, within the past couple of weeks, China has bought a military base, an old military base in Texas. And they happen to own military bases all around the world, along with several different other large institutes and, things of value all over the world. So it's interesting that if a country were to attack China, China already kind of has their system set up and is ready for anything the world wants to throw at them. But it makes me also wonder about our securities in the United States, because the United States happens to be in incredible debt, and a lot of that debt is to China. And so we can be mad at what our President Trump calls the CV, the China virus, which he speaks quite ill about, the China virus. We can be mad about that all we want, but what is the retaliation based on the United States securities? And so, if you get either one of you have anything you want to throw in there about this subject, we can briefly take that before we get into Clause 7 of Article 1, Section 8, because I'm interested in your opinion on that. What do you know about the United States securities based on the fact that China is going through buying up our securities? Once they buy them up, they're no longer our securities, meaning the United States is really not worth as much as it was before. So, AviGayle, got any? Sherry specifically told me, don't ask me first.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because I say this a lot. There was years that everything I picked up to purchase anything, I'd look on the bottom of it and it would say made in China. Everything was made in China, no matter what I bought. Wow. I mean, I would go every place. I mean, if I had to do some serious digging to find something that was made in the USA. And I used to say to people in especially areas that I did a lot of purchasing, and I'd say, what's with this made in China, what's going on here? And so I did a little due diligence. And I did discover that, Mark and Sherry, that China really wanted to literally buy the United States of America. They wanted to take over the United States of America. That was their agenda. And it wasn't during the Trump administration that this was happening. It was during other administrations that didn't really have a desire to keep America, to keep United States of America in the hands of the Americans. It was people that just could care less. They didn't even have a love for the United States of America. So they kept yielding and yielding to China. Now, as a result of that, it's not just the national parks. There's been a lot of information that has been given to China. And actually, people are being called now on the carpet for it. There's been some serious information that was supposed to be in high security, and people became, it was treason. They became traitors, and they sold things to China. And so that's being dealt with. And to me, it's a major concern. It really is, because the coronavirus, or the China virus, to me, is just the crown, if you will, because it's called the crown of what's taking place. I mean, there's one thing to buy up the money and buy up other secrets, but then to destroy life intentionally, to bring China at a place where United States of America, where literally people are on their knees and on their deathbed. And so, without a doubt, there's a spiritual plague going on, and money is an issue. Yes, money is an issue. But to me, what's more valuable than money, and you said it last week, human beings.
Human capital.
Human capital, yeah.
Right.
And so when we have human capital being dealt with, and they don't have jobs, I just found out a relative of mine just got laid off, and because of the nature of their business. So human capital, if you don't have human beings who are able to produce in the United States of America, you're going to look at Venezuela. Venezuela can be knocking at our door, because we talked about that last week too, about all the money on the streets of Venezuela that have no value. So I'm trying to keep my posture calm, cool, and collective.
Composure, yes.
Composure, because there's a stirring going on in me that just wants to shout from the rooftops, and it would blow the whole airways. So it's very challenging to me what's going on. But something that's written in the Torah, it says these things are going to happen. It's just a matter of how, when, and why, and how we are going to deal with it. And I'm thankful you're bringing it out, because the best way to expose it is bringing forth the truth. Because can it be resolved? I think it can be. I think there's ways that we can bring back, if it's the Father's will. I mean, He may want to do away with the world system. That's what it says in the scriptures. Do away with the whole world system so His kingdom can reign here. So thank you, Mark, for stirring.
Sure. Well, I say, I don't know how many times I've said it in the past 6 months, and I'm sure both of you feel the same, but I'm 65. I'm going to be 66 here in a couple of months, and I have worked my tail off my entire life to get to this age, so that once I'm here, I can now kind of kick back a little bit and enjoy life, enjoy my grandkids. I can enjoy living 3 miles from the ocean, enjoy my land, my house, and do a little work, but kick back a little bit, play with the Lamb Network, do all the things that I can do. I worked very hard to make it to this position, and now everybody's telling me, no, that's going to change. You need to be on edge every second of your life, and you need to be searching all these things out, and you need to be in fear for the rest of your life. No, I refuse that.
Good.
And don't throw it in my stinking face. You know, I'm enjoying being 65 years old. I'm enjoying it. I like it. I'm in decent enough health to keep going on every day. I got a good attitude. Don't throw this crap in my face. I'm tired of what's the next thing? The new normal. You know, no. You know what? I like the old normal. You know, I did. I really did. I know we had problems, but I like the old normal. I like living this. Sherry.
Basically, it comes down to whether we trust God or not.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Now, I could give you some information, AviGayle, that will spiral you up to the third heaven, as the saying goes. But what was it, 2013, China bought a bunch of our parks. They own a lot of the United States. Interesting enough, I don't know if y'all know of the Jones Act. They have tried for years to overthrow the Jones Act. And the Jones Act keeps a foreign entity from owning any of our inland boats.
Right. You were talking about that before, yes.
So that's one good thing, because I guarantee you, a foreign entity, if they wanted to try to overthrow the U.S., would try to own those boat companies. They could cut this nation into parcels according to whatever river they're on. So praise God, our ancestors had enough sense to pass that. The most horrible thing that people don't realize, and this opens up a whole can of worms, is getting into the Federal Reserve banking system. The Federal Reserve Bank has absolutely nothing to do with the federal government.
Right.
Nothing other than in their name. And they're actually not responsible to the federal government for any information. Just like when they had the guy testify before Congress, they asked him, well, who did you lend money to? Who did you do? And he said, I don't have to tell you that. Yeah. And they don't. They're a secretive banking. Well, they're not even really banking. They're a secretive, privately owned company. And just like you're talking about in this section, Congress is supposed to be printing our money, and they have farmed it out, so to speak, to the Federal Reserve. And actually, a lot of people don't know this, but Lincoln, during the Civil War, I don't know if I didn't remember y'all talking about this. I listened to last week's broadcast, but Lincoln actually printed money. He wanted to borrow money to fund the Civil War to pay the soldiers, and the Federal Reserve, I mean, Federal Reserve didn't exist then, but he couldn't figure out how to do it. And the treasurer guy, I think it was, came to him and said, you can issue money, get Congress to issue money. And so he issued what was called the United States note. And that's what they paid the soldiers with. Yeah. And they were actually called greenbacks for a while. And when I was a teller, I mean, we'd see them come across every now and then because they looked different. They had a red seal and their numbers on them were in red. But they were still legal tender. But the difference on them and the Federal Reserve note is that the United States note is a bill of credit, whereas the Federal Reserve note is a debt. Okay. The United States note was issued without borrowing or lending, whereas a Federal Reserve note is issued with by borrowing.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah.
Another interesting thing was that we used to have what's called, and I don't know if anybody ever remembers them, but the reason why I remember all this is because I was a teller for years before I went into the other part of the bank, securities part of the bank. Right. And there's silver certificates and gold certificates. And in 33, Roosevelt had everybody hand in their gold. That's where Fort Knox came from. And they had trains going through the country, you know, taking all our gold to Fort Knox. A lot of the guys came back from Europe with gold coins in World War I. And then when we had the crash because of the central banking system, Federal Reserve, which brought that about, he had everybody hand in their gold, and they said
Right.
that we would back our money by gold. We were tied to the gold standard. That was the Bretton Woods agreement in 1944 tied us to the gold standard and made the United States the world currency. Everything is tied to it. So if and when the dollar goes down, everybody else's money goes down. But
so it's China can't buy up the Federal Reserves then.
China buys our U.S. Treasury notes and our U.S. Treasury bonds, which means they're lending money to the United States. When you buy a Treasury note or a Treasury bond,
I get it.
we're lending money to the U.S. and that's how they keep that money flowing. All China has to do, if you really want to know the truth, would be a big, huge part of the crash for the United States. Stop buying the Federal Reserve notes. I mean, the U.S. Treasury notes and U.S. Treasury bonds, because we float a lot of money. We're in huge debt.
Sure.
I mean, we're in more debt than we have actually cash on hand. If they gathered up all the cash from everybody in the United States and all the cash in all the banks, we only have a small percentage of that. People don't understand how the lending system, it's a Babylonian dialectic, actually. It's a Babylonian model that we go by. If you have $100,000 in the bank, at one point they only had to keep 10%. So they'd hang on to 10,000 cash and loan out 90,000. Then the next person, they'd only keep 9,000 and loan out 81,000. And on $100,000, they could loan out almost $1 million.
Right.
It's all okay unless everybody comes to the bank and wants their money. That is kind of what the scenario was of the fall in 2008. We had all these Ginnie Mae, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac things, and they were issuing all these bonds over and over.
Yeah.
We're buying them all up.
Right.
And everybody wanted them at the same time. Basically, people quit paying their mortgages because they were based on mortgages. And when people, everything started falling and people couldn't pay their mortgage, which meant what they did is they took mortgages and
right. Yeah, I remember.
And sold them as a bond.
Right. And that caused everything. Yeah.
So when everybody couldn't pay their mortgages, the bonds couldn't be paid.
Right.
And that's what brought about the domino effect. And that's why they bailed all these banks out, because they had bought all these as an investment.
Right.
And that was one of the things when I left the bank, I was saying, all these rumblings going on, look at even the things that they said were solid and stable. If you went down, and that's what I did, was I read a lot of the stuff. Then I'm going like, no, this is backed by Fannie Mae. This is backed by Ginnie Mae. You don't want to invest in it. You want to go to cash. Go to cash. Go to cash.
Right.
I said, everybody go to cash. I don't have any cash, but y'all all need to go to cash.
Right. Well, but if we're in debt, then the securities, if we're in debt, then in other words, the United States, the value of what we have is indifferent to that debt. And if it's China and they're buying up the securities of the United States, then our worth is less and less and less. Is the United States worth anything if China and everybody else owns it?
On the consumer price index that they talk about all the time, $100 in 1933 is worth a buying power of like $3 and something today.
Yeah.
So it's really, and I mean, we could see that over our lifetime. I mean, I know when I was a kid, round steak was 10 cents a pound. Eggs were a nickel.
Right.
Bread was 10 cents.
Yeah. I remember that too.
$3 now. $3 a loaf of bread now. Every housewife in America can tell you about the inflation, and that's because everything is. And one other thing, which I found very interesting, and people don't know this. Did you know that the bank does not have to give you change for a Federal Reserve note or take your Federal Reserve note?
No.
They do it as a courtesy, but they don't have to.
Right.
Because I had a friend went into a bank and they had a lot of counterfeit 20s go around, and she asked for change for a 20, and they said, "Are you a customer?" And she says, "Well, no, I just need to change for a 20." They're like, "No, And she said, you have to. And they said, no, we don't. And I told her, I said, they're exactly right. It's a Federal Reserve note. And you can't even take it to the Federal Reserve to get them to change it.
Yeah.
But the Federal Reserve will tell you, if you call them, they'll tell you, well, it's good for legal tender, which means you can buy with it.
Right.
So if you want change for a 20, go buy a pack of gum and get your change that way. But they do not have to change it at the bank.
Right.
A whole bunch of stuff that you can open up a whole can of worms about our money.
Right.
You know, Nixon took us off the gold standard. It is backed by the good faith of the United States, but it's actually 1944, the Bretton Woods. And I'm not, you know, we need to trust God, period. But the Bretton Woods is broken. It was an agreement that they reached after the World War that the dollars would be tied to the gold standard, and that the United States would be the currency that they use. Like when they go to buy oil, they have to use US dollars.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Away from that, I forget which country it was, says, no, we're not going to do that anymore. And they use their own currency to buy oil. That's one of the things that happens. So anyway, this is brief.
I get it. So basically, we're kind of in the middle of our country being bought up by China, and all these different things Sherry's talking about are indifferent today because of our securities. What the United States is worth is definitely falling by the wayside. And I'm not being a Debbie Downer here, but just as a fact to keep in mind here is that, China has, like I started all this off with, China is ready no matter what in about every country on the globe to back themselves up with anything if we or anybody else decides to attack them. You know, it's kind of like, what are you going to attack us with? We own everything you got anyway. So,
what if they want to foreclose on what they own? What if they want to come in and foreclose?
Yeah, there you go. There's your war right there.
Our only security, Mark, is in Yahweh Almighty.
Right.
That's our only security we have in this world. Come what may, live or die, He is our God.
It might be our personal security, but it's not the nation's security.
No, you're right. He is our personal security.
But, I mean, if we're going to pray for our country, then we pray that God be the personal security. But first of all, they have to believe that and work that. Our government has to work that way. All right. This is good.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.
Roosevelt, do solemnly swear.
I, Dwight D. Eisenhower, do solemnly swear.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution.
The Constitution of the United States. So help me God.